Now we return to local news with Audrey.
Landlords in Enfield will no longer be given a free rein to convert large family houses into bedsits or flats following a new ruling by councillors. Government regulations introduced in 2010 gave local authorities discretion not to require landlords to seek planning permission if they wish to transform large family houses into a maximum of 6 separate bedsits or flats, enabling them to make as much profit as possible from larger properties. But an Enfield Council spokesman confirmed that councillors had decided not to make use of the planning relaxation, which would have an impact on residents in social housing. The decision was taken in a bid to redress the drastic shortage of family-sized council homes, as large families across Enfield have been squeezed into cramped, overcrowded houses and flats. Councillors also say there have been problems with traffic flow and antisocial behaviour around converted homes. Chris Bond, the council's cabinet member for environment, stressed that with the increasing demand for family housing, the authority needs to be able to control the number and location of houses converted into bedsits and one-bed flats. He said, "We consulted residents on our proposals to restrict the spread of small-scale houses in multiple occupation, following the law change in 2010. Around 90% of those who took part in the survey backed our proposals, which we have now adopted. The council plans to introduce the restrictions in a year's time and is asking residents for their views up until December the 4th. To take part in the consultation, visit www.enfield.gov.uk.
Gordon Boateng insists that Enfield, 1893's, performances will have to improve if they're to remain in contention for the Essex Senior League title, even though they beat Eton Manor 3-2 on Saturday to climb up into second place in the table. Having finally recorded their first away league win of the season the week before, the E's were forced to work hard to pick up maximum points on their return to Goldsdown Road, falling behind before goals from Ricky Edwards too, and Neil Hughes enabled them to triumph. However, while pleased to have claimed the victory, manager Boateng was far from impressed with his players' display. "It was probably our worst performance of the season," he said. "We can't afford to play like that again." But the most important thing was to get another win, and our home form speaks for itself. We showed resistance to come from behind and win the game, and it's very positive for us that it keeps a consistent run going. We're second in the league, but that doesn't mean anything at the moment. We need to play better if we want to stay in contention. With the E's continuing to be plagued by injuries and suspension, Boateng signed central defender Darren Williams from Cheshunt and central midfielder Ross Davey last week, while midfielder Chris Morgan joined the club from Eastbourne Borough on Monday. All 3 new arrivals are expected to feature in tonight's Gordon Brasted Memorial Trophy quarter-final at Bethel Green United at 7:45, but I'm afraid you have missed that exciting football match.
International school dinners are set to hit pupils' plates this month. The new range of school meals will be introduced to primary schools throughout the borough after months of testing by parents and children. The new menus include Turkish, Middle Eastern and Jamaican dishes and coincide with School Meals Week, which begins on Monday. Meals include turlu turlu, a Turkish roast and spiced vegetable dish with aubergines, chickpeas and plain yoghurt, Jamaican lamb patties, and Tuscan bean and butternut squash risotto. Dessert options include chocolate sponge with chocolate sauce, carrot cake and spiced apple cake.
Elderly people in 2 care homes will take a trip down memory lane this month. Nairn House Care Centre in Garnet Road, 40 Hill, is holding a memory party based on the Second World War years on Wednesday, November the 14th and Friday, November the 16th. People from the community who would like to share memories of the war and take part in a show and tell session are also invited to attend the afternoon. Memory Share Week, which starts on Monday, was launched by Bupa Care Homes to encourage people to do more to capture family memories. Home manager Judith Wade said, "Talking about the good old days and sharing happy memories is something all our residents love to do, and they have no trouble in telling us a few stories. What's great is that they can all get involved with reminiscing, no matter what their age. People who might have difficulty remembering what's happened recently can have vivid memories from the past." A memory sharing party will also be held at Wellington Park Nursing Home on Wellington Road, Bush Hill Park, on Tuesday, November the 13th.
Director of Rugby Mark McCall hailed the efforts that his Saracens players have put in so far this season after they overcame Wasps 29-24 at Vicarage Road on Sunday to remain level on points with Harlequins at the top of the Aviva Premiership table. The result means that Sarries have won 8, drawn once and lost just one of their first 10 matches, which have all been played at different grounds as they lead a nomadic existence prior to moving to Alliance Park in February. It's been an unusual 10 weeks for us, with every game being at a different ground. For us to have got through it having only lost one game is exceptional. We've had some very difficult away games in there at Harlequins and Northampton, and I'm very proud of what we have achieved. Sarries, who were missing 6 players on international duty with England, were some way below their best against Wasps, but still managed to do enough to claim their 6th successive win.
Some rivers in Enfield are little more than open sewers with worse pollution levels than the Ganges in India, according to Conservative councillor. Michael Lavender, leader of the Conservative group on Enfield Council, says residents living near Pims Brook in Palmer's Green are disgusted at the level of bacteria found in the river. Mr Lavender will table a question at tonight's full council meeting demanding that action is taken to reduce pollution. He told the Advertiser that some houses in Enfield are not connected properly to the sewage system, and household waste is sometimes flushed straight into waterways, including Pims Brook and Salmons Brook, so-called misconnections in the system. The pollution in Enfield's rivers is a matter of concern to residents, said Mr Lavender. Enfield Council's building control team is responsible for resolving the discharge of residential sewage into local rivers. In a response published before tonight's meeting, the Cabinet Member for Environment, Chris Bond, said, "The enforcement of misconnections in the sewage system is undertaken by the Council's Environmental Protection Team. The team also works with Thames Water to identify and enforce misconnections and is working on a particular programme this year." However, Mr Lavender remained dissatisfied with this response and said, "It's disappointing that all that Mr Bond has to say is that the building control team is working on a particular programme without providing any further details. This sounds to me as if the council is doing nothing at all."
Police have released images of 4 men they would like to speak to in connection with burglaries. They want to find 19-year-old Konstantin Apostol in relation to a Southgate burglary in July, and 17-year-old Martin Casey in connection with a burglary in Palmer's Green in September. Police would also like to speak to 22-year-old Fabian Best in connection with a Southgate burglary in June, and 37-year-old Vasile Mistrian in relation to a burglary in Winchmore Hill in February. Police are advising members of the public not to approach the men.
An afternoon of high drama ended in triumphant fashion for Enfield Town as they recorded a 4-3 victory at Canvey Island in the Ryman Premier Division on Saturday. Town had failed to win in the league since August, and their hopes of ending that run looked very slim when keeper Noel Inber was forced off injured after just 15 minutes. With no substitute keeper on the bench, left-back Lee White took over in goal for the remainder of the contest and, even though he conceded 3 times, he gave a good account of himself in such an unfamiliar position. But it was at the other end of a pitch where Town really impressed, with Liam Hope scoring a hat-trick and strike partner Adam Wallace proving a constant threat as they deservedly secured a third successive win in all competitions. I thought we thoroughly deserved the win and were definitely the better side on the day, said Town manager Steve Newing. Lee did a very good job in goal. He didn't have to make many difficult saves, but he certainly looked competent and he dealt with crosses very well. I would have no qualms about putting him in goal again. And Adam and Liam caused them problems throughout. I thought that Adam played really well, and hopefully the hat-trick will give Liam a bit of confidence and make him feel that he can score regularly at this level.
Students have been able to get a close look at one of the world's fastest cars this week as part of a motor show aimed at stimulating interest in science and technology. The Bloodhound Supersonic Car project is on display at Barnet and Southgate College in High Street, Southgate, during 3 days of presentations, technical demonstrations and rides organised by the college's motorsports department. The project is aiming to build a car capable of breaking the land speed record and travelling at more than 1,000 miles per hour. And the event, which started on Monday, includes a motor show with specialist cars, including a branded college Formula One car, a Ferrari and a Corvette. The show is open to the public and there are opportunities to drive and go-karts, find out more about Formula One and the science that drives racing. BTEC Level 3 Motorsport student Sagar Bhagat, 18 of Cambourne Avenue, Edmonton, one of those working on the college's Formula One car, told the advertiser, "The car was given to us in parts, and we had to turn it into a rolling car with a Maserati engine. My course is absolutely fantastic, the only one in our area where you can get the opportunity to study motorsport. I'm privileged to have the opportunity to study here." College Principal David Burns said, "We are privileged to welcome the Bloodhound team and at the same time hold the college motor show. The aim of both events is to inspire the next generation by stimulating an interest in science and technology. In the UK, there is currently a shortage of scientists, engineers and mathematicians, and we need our students and local young people to be motivated to enjoy and study these subjects at school and at college."
An Enfield couple won so many accolades at the London Garden Society Awards that they needed a wheelbarrow to take their trophies home. Margaret and Derek Fletcher of Winwood Close, Freezywater, picked up 5 gongs during the awards ceremony at the Guildhall Old Library in central London. They received the Royal Horticultural Society's Banksian Medal for being the most successful winners of the night, and Mr. Fletcher, who has been taking part in the Gardening Awards since 1995, has now won the Banksian Medal 3 times. Mr. and Mrs. Fletcher won 2 gold medals, one for the large front garden and the other for the roof balcony display. They won a silver cup for their window boxes and a bronze for Mr. Fletcher's decorated lamppost. Judges from the London Garden Society visited gardens all over London during the summer. Mr. Fletcher said it's hard work all year, not just for the weekend, but I think success comes from dedication and hard work. It's been particularly hard this year because of the temperamental weather, but I won't let the weather dampen my enthusiasm. I intend to compete again next year. Enfield's gardeners won the Wakefield Prize, beating all other London boroughs as they finished with the highest points overall. Other winners from Enfield included Terry Kavanagh, who won a bronze, and she took over the gardening from her late husband and had never been a gardener before entering the competition for the first time this year. Stanley Comras also won a silver cup for Enfield in the small back garden category.
The sister of a man extradited to Greece on manslaughter charges raised almost £4,500 for the legal charity that represented him. Sophie Simu, 26, of Gordon Hill, spent 6 days climbing Mount Kilimanjaro with her best friend Gabby Board to raise money for charity Fair Trials International. The charity supported her brother Andrew, who was extradited in 2009 in connection with the death of 18-year-old Jonathan Hiles, who fell off a podium in a Zakynthos nightclub in 2007. The Bournemouth University student was acquitted by a Greek court in June 2011 after the jury found him not guilty. The girls, who undertook the climb last month, smashed their £3,000 target, with donations reaching £4,415 to date. They climbed to the highest point of the Tanzanian mountain, the Uhuru Peak, which is 5,895 metres high. She said, "Trekking Kilimanjaro was an unbelievable experience that we will never forget. It was not only physically strenuous at times, it was also mentally draining. When times felt tough, I reminded myself of the reasons we were doing this. This was for Fair Trials International. This was for my brother. We had to dig deep and gain emotional strength. That guided us to the top of the mountain." She said seeing the sun rise over the summit was one of the most breathtaking things she had ever seen in her life. Fair Trials International helps people who have been extradited to defend their right to a fair trial. Ms. Board said, "I speak on behalf of both myself and Sophie when I say we had a truly amazing experience, filled with ups and downs. I personally feel honoured to have been part of such a successful campaign. We are so grateful to everyone who so generously donated and supported us."
A burglar who was identified after leaving blood on a door has been jailed for 16 months. Szymon Dabrowski, 29, of Tanner's End Lane, Edmonton, pleaded guilty to 2 counts of burglary when he appeared at Wood Green Crown Court. Police officers from Hazelbury's Safer Neighbourhood team were conducting inquiries in Hazelbury Road, Edmonton, on August the 9th after a resident reported a burglary when they noticed blood on a nearby front door that had been smashed. It was linked to Dabrowski, and he was identified as a potential suspect for both burglaries. He was arrested and charged with burglary on August the 24th.
A man from Winchmore Hill has been fined for falsely claiming more than £18,000 of taxpayers' money. Calendar Aksoy, 50, of Hoppers Road, secretly bought a £400,000 property in Luton, Bedfordshire, while claiming benefits from Enfield Borough Council. The benefit cheat then rented out the Luton property, which consisted of 2 shop units and 3 flats, without telling the council about the property or declaring the rent money. He successfully claimed more than £12,000 in housing benefit and nearly £6,000 in council tax relief between 2004 and 2011. Aksoy, who is paying back the money in instalments, has £8,000 outstanding, appeared at Enfield Magistrate Court last Tuesday after pleading guilty to benefit fraud. He was ordered to carry out 150 hours of unpaid work and fined £550. Councillor Andrew Stafford, Cabinet Member for Finance and Property, said, "People who claim these benefits often have income coming in from other sources and are motivated by their sheer greed. I'm delighted to hear another fraudster has been caught and punished."
A young ballet dancer has raised nearly £4,000 for a hospice after agreeing to cut off her hair. 9-year-old Sydney Miller will be cutting off brunette locks later this month to raise money for the North London Hospice, which cared for her grandmother during the last days of her life. Melinda Lucy, 63, died of bowel cancer in June, and Sydney is eager to repay the hospice, which cares for terminally ill people across Enfield and North London, for the help they have given to her family. The hospice has just opened a new day centre in Barrowell Green, Winchmore Hill. "I saw how brave Grandma was when she was going through treatment and losing her hair, and this is nothing compared to that," says Sydney. "Grandma was still alive when I told her I wanted to cut my hair off. She cried. She would have been very proud." Sydney had hoped that she would raise £500 from her haircut, but donations have eclipsed all her expectations, and so far the figure stands at just under £4,000. "All my school friends are really excited," she added. Sydney's mum, Nicola, a florist, was touched by the care her mother received at the hospice. She said, "We are all very proud of Sydney. It's a very admirable thing to do. The haircut will be part of her family's bar mitzvah celebrations, a Jewish festival in which the day is dedicated to doing good deeds. Sydney, who goes to Lionsdown Primary School in New Barnet, is facing the hairdresser at home on Sunday, November the 18th. She will then donate her tresses to Little Princesses, a charity which makes real hair wigs for children across the UK and Ireland who have lost their own hair due to cancer treatment. Sydney's donation is likely to make a huge difference to the North London Hospice, which offers its services for free and meets 77% of its costs through fundraising.
The family of a 100-year-old widow are devastated her home was burgled. Violet Brett, who lives alone in a house off Chase Side, was sleeping on Thursday when two youths smashed down her door at 9 p.m. and ransacked her lounge. The men, described as black and about 19 years old, rifled through Mrs. Brett's belongings before running off with £40 she had saved in an envelope to pay for a new pair of glasses. Her 39-year-old grandson, Paul Toomey, said, "It was so horrible. Fortunately, they didn't hurt her. But when you live to that old age, you want to be treated with respect. We are really grateful she wasn't hurt. You hear of horror stories. She was so vulnerable." Mrs. Brett, who refuses to move to a care home, woke up during the burglary and saw the youths come into her bedroom and search through her chest of drawers. Mr. Toomey said the burglars must have had an attack of conscience when they saw Mrs. Brett, as they chose to take only £40 when £60 was in the envelope. Carers visit Mrs. Brett 4 times a day, and members of her family are concerned the men targeted the pensioner after watching her routine. Despite her ordeal, Mr. Toomey said, "She has taken it in her stride. She's quite a resilient old lady, and she has to be quite a tough cookie to live to 100. I think she is okay. It has come as a shock, but she is trying to move forward. She wasn't hurt. It's more that, like everyone else, she is really devastated. It is so sad people feel they have a right to do that sort of thing when she has worked all her life. It is so wrong."
A school adventure playground in Enfield has been voted the best in London. Carter Hatch Infant School in Enfield Wash was inspected by the charity London Play, which campaigns to improve play spaces across the capital. The charity was impressed by the play area's sandpit, swings, wooden climbing frame and pond, which is designed to help children explore wildlife. The school in Carter Hatch Lane was presented with the award during a ceremony in the Phoenix Cinema in Finchley last week.
A former English teacher diagnosed with motor neuron disease has written a book about her experiences. Lindy Jones, who was head of English at Edmonton County School until 2005, is due to release the book called The Voice in My Head is Perfect through Amazon on Friday, November the 30th. The 57-year-old from Livingston Road in Palmer's Green was told he had the terminal illness in September 2010 after she noticed her speech was slurred. Mrs. Jones, who is married to husband Gareth and has sons 22 and 24, can no longer speak as a result of her condition and has to rely on writing to communicate. She wrote, "I have tried to make the book humorous as well as grim. A motor neuron disease becomes a woman called Mildred. So it is not your normal serious account of a vile disease, more about my experiences of not being able to communicate and facing my own demise after being healthy for my entire adult life. The book describes the shock of no longer being a professional, independent head of English, but a terminally ill patient. The progressive disease attacks nerves in the brain and spinal cord and can gradually affect how patients walk, talk, eat, drink and breathe." The mother of 2 added, "Not being able to speak is terrible and I have found it very hard to adjust. I want people to understand what it feels like to have a degenerative terminal illness." The academic taught in Enfield for 14 years before becoming head of English in a comprehensive school in Hertfordshire.
A Christmas parade held for the first time last year will hit the streets of Enfield again at the end of the month. More than 1,000 people raised £1,355 for charity at last year's Parade of Light, which celebrates the Christmas lights switch-on. This year's hour-long procession, complete with colourful floats, will take place on Sunday, November the 25th, from 4 p.m. More than 400 people will parade from Enfield Civic Centre in Silver Street to Baker Street, through Lancaster Road, Chaseside, before finishing at Church Street. Enfield Scouts and Guides, cheerleaders, police and sea cadets will join the parade, along with performers from London Pantomimers and Platinum Stage School. Organiser Kathy Worrell said, "The parade was so good last year, everybody said we should do it again. Because of how well it went, we have a few more shops on board. It's a feel-good factor, and there are a lot of youngsters involved." 16 Enfield shops are sponsoring the event, which will raise money for the Mayor of Enfield Charitable Trust, Nightingale Cancer Support Centre and the Borough of Enfield Voluntary Association for the Disabled.
We have reached the end of our programme for this week. Thank you for listening. So from the team of Audrey, Elizabeth, Katherin and myself, Frances, and Dave on the controls, it's goodbye.
Goodbye.
Please remember to turn over the address label in your postal packet. Put the cassette into the packet and return it to us as soon as possible in readiness for the next edition. And don't forget you can call Diane de Jersey regarding any help you may require in connection with Enfield Talking Newspaper. The Enfield Talking Newspaper will be with you again in 1 week's time.